Yeah.
I see what you did there.
Sorry.
That's what he usually
Oh well, bad joke. You know?
That was a good one. Okay, we have mine, sir.
Great. Okay. I'd like to call to order a joint special meeting of the Summer Board of Selectmen and the Charter Revision Commission. Today's Tuesday, July 1, 2025, 5 p.m. in the Town Hall Auditorium. Please join me with a Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's not what we passed today in the Senate. Sorry.
Don't listen to him. I
forgot, Tim, that you're a millionaire.
I've learned my lesson.
I forgot you're a millionaire and a billionaire.
Okay, first of all, we have a roll call. So with us from the Charter Revision Commission, we have the chairman, Scott Copen. We have Secretary Terry Schmidt. We have John Parks, who's the vice chairman, and Mike Marinaccio as well, and Karen Neal is the town liaison. And then we also have Selectman Meyer on my right, Selectman Schmidt on my left, Kim LaFleur, our ops director, who's in charge of the administrative support here.
All right, I got you. Oh, Karen got us. I got her.
So the purpose of this was just to, in not a very formal situation, we just wanted to have a discussion of your proposal, and since I attended most of your meetings, I think all but two, I know pretty much what you've done, but this gives us an opportunity for the Board of Selectmen just to ask some questions about what you did, how you got there, what you didn't, what you omitted, and why, and maybe some questions about some of the language. So I've got a couple of, first of all, you guys did a fantastic job. It was just an incredible group, I thought, very talented, and your words, I thought, were very good, diligent, conscientious, faithful in the execution of their responsibilities, right on. You guys did a great job, so I was very proud of what you produced, and I have, anybody else have any opening questions, or, I've got a couple of questions just to start with here. Let's see, one of them, here we go.
Two more.
Eddie Poe and Tom Clark entering the room. Members of the commission.
Make note that they're 2 minutes late.
We just started.
We're doing no business yet.
Yeah, you just missed my introduction. You didn't miss much. So I just commended the commission for what a great job you guys did, and just a great group of people. Worked so well together, very balanced, and a terrific report. So, I'm just going to start off with a couple of quick questions. One is, you talk about, let's see, under recommendation number 4, this is the one that deals with the need to go to the voters for a town meeting if an amount exceeds a certain, if an appropriation exceeds a certain amount, has not been appropriated. It talks about, it says, when the cumulative amount of all such appropriations or transfers exceeds the limit. So you cumulative, meaning you just add what's been asked all that year. Is that what you're doing, or a 12-month period, or how does that work?
Yeah, and I'm going to defer to Mike, but this question came to us through the Board of Finance,
Right.
And we had conversations with the town attorney, and I think that was a recommendation to clarify the language.
You talking about the sentence about the cumulative?
Right, cumulative amount.
Yeah, so I received comments back from Council Carl that he felt as though that's what the intent of the statute was, and kind of wanted that to be in harmony with it. I talked to Brian about it.
How is that measured as far as cumulative goes? Is there a period of time?
Brian, the CFO, would know how many appropriations he's brought, the dollar value of that he has brought forth. Once it goes over,
Since the beginning of the year or since the...
yeah, it's the beginning of the
Fiscal year.
fiscal year. That's what he said. And so, I mean, it gets you no town meeting for smaller items up to a certain point.
Right.
And then, I mean, you could blow it out of the water, I suppose, on one big appropriation, if that be the case, and then you'd have to go to town meeting afterward anyway, so. But I said to Brian, that's the intent, right? That's what you want, that, and he said, yes, that's the way it is supposed to be. I said, have we always done it that way? And he said, no, we have not always done it that way, but I'd be more comfortable doing it that way. That's what he told me.
Okay, great.
So,
Well, I think this is a great recommendation, and it's overdue, time-wise. I mean, it's only been since 1991, I think, the original statute was passed. It set it at $20,000. Let's see, what else? Yeah, with regards to the town administrator proposal. So the hiring is going to be basically by the Board of Selectmen upon the recommendation of a panel. Correct? Is that how it works? And then on page 1 of explanatory notes, talks about the paragraph 3, I guess. Talks about by charter, the first selectman remains the CEO of the town. The new administrator will be the CAO, reporting to the first selectman. So I guess we just maybe need some clarifying language there that involves, reporting directly to the first selectman, or because the person actually reports to the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah.
By definition. So that runs a little bit contrary to that. So,
Hey, Tim, which point is that one, just so that we can...
This is ballot question number 2.
Yep. And then in the
big paragraph.
in the draft.
Right. By the charter, the first selectman remains the CEO of the town. The new town administrator will be the CAO, reporting.
So,
Can you show me?
okay, on the first
Yeah.
one.
Oh, in the explanatory text.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
No, that is a good point.
Yeah.
So typically how we've worded it in job descriptions and things is that they receive day-to-day supervision from the first selectman, I think, under the, general guidance of the Board of Selectmen or something like that, or
Yep.
or under the supervision of the Board of Selectmen, but
I think that all the selectmen should be mentioned.
Yeah, we'll add that one.
Yep.
Because I'm assuming that from the recommendations that they would report to us, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay, that's what the rest of this text talks about.
Yep.
With regards to the town administrator, this is page 3 of the explanatory text. Top of the page, it says, the town administrator shall be appointed by the Board of Selectmen. The town administrator is an exempt position of indefinite term. I was just a little concerned there when I saw indefinite term. And the implication, of course, is that we've discussed is that there would be, the initial appointment would be by a panel, would be made up of certain people like the first selectman, the CFO, a couple of other people I think you recommended. So I would just say something about, reappointment would depend, again, require panel review every 2 years, sort of like we do with the CFO. I'm just thinking that.
Yeah, we do that with the tax collector
Yeah.
and the assessor as well.
Yeah, exactly. So we just have to have some language in there.
Yeah, about reviewing them.
Yeah.
Well, it's yours now.
So I guess it's
Yours now.
I mean, you just want to let you know, that's what we're expecting.
Are you looking for an appointment limit on that? I mean, one of the ideas of that position was continuity. So if you start limiting it every 2 years, you may end up with a new town manager every 2 years.
Well, we do that though with CFO.
It's just a possibility.
You had some experience
I
with
mean, I
that.
realize that all the other elected offices and other appointments do have a limit. I mean, if you're going to really want a limit, then it probably should be 4 years.
4 years, okay.
I would not want to have a limit. I mean, if you have a good person, why would we force them out after? I think it's going to be hard to find someone that's going to work in a professional role, knowing they're going to have to find a job in 4 years.
I mean, this is so different than the other jobs. I mean, you're probably going to have an employment agreement with this person anyway.
Yeah.
They will be evaluated again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the evaluation, yeah.
I mean, I have mixed feelings. I think that's why it's good we're having the conversation. I mean, Mike, I agree completely with you, and it's the notes I made. I mean, I'm concerned about continuity because theoretically, I mean, all three of us could say we're not running in November. You could have a completely new board of selectmen
With a whole different agenda.
and no experience. I mean, that's the problem. Like, no continuity, no
Exactly.
experience. The idea would be this person would provide some of that continuity.
Right.
Because I know in the beginning there was a talk about, do you do a 4-year term for selectmen or a 2-year term? You know, if you ran like the Board of Ed does 4-year staggered terms, right, you ensure you never have a completely new board. If we leave the Board of Selectmen at 2-year terms, which I'm fine with, I think you'd want to have the town administrator
Right.
a staggered term, right?
And if you put more of an indefinite term with the evaluation every 2 years or something like that, that shows that you're actually looking at the,
Yeah.
he's performing annually as a,
Yeah.
for everybody. We do that for every staff member here. So I think person would be exempt from that. So.
So is the consensus review every 4 years by this panel? Is that what we're talking about?
Well, 2 or 4.
I wouldn't go 4.
Yeah, I think
I would
four
go
is too long.
narrower.
3 years?
So the person is an at-will employee, right? I would think you would evaluate a town administrator every year,
Yeah.
and that again, he or she serves at will, and they will understand that coming into the position. It's probably the point of indefinite term that is the issue. You could just leave it out. The town administrator is an exempt position,
I like that. That's
and
evaluated.
right,
Yeah.
and then maybe add language on the review, the annual review process. So
Yeah, I think every 2 years would be good.
Well, we're talking about annual.
I think,
He was that.
I know, well, we're giving you more work, but
No, I'm just saying, I just personally think every couple of years is okay.
All right, we'll figure something out.
Well, I think it's going to be a very important point, and yeah, I mean, I have a lot of feelings on it. I mean, my other fear would be that a Board of Selectmen would enter into an employment contract that would be very unfavorable to a future board. And I know this sometimes happens with employment contracts. I think we just need to be careful, especially if you say you have a Republican first selectman, a Democrat administration coming in, the Republicans have their friends, and they say, hey, you know what, I'm going to take care of you for the next 5 years and enter into a written agreement. I think we just need to be careful of that scenario, because it's very likely that would happen.
you got to be careful of a new administration coming in and deciding they want to dismiss the guy who's already there.
Right, that's the other thing.
So if he has an agreement, then they'll probably make that a little more difficult.
There's no
I mean,
safe.
so it cuts both ways. I mean, that's,
I think our concern in this also was the continuity aspect of it.
Yeah.
And so I think it's kind of a double-edged sword because I think, we're going to have a checks and balance system, hopefully, that's set up because if he or she is not conducting business like everyone believes they should be,
Right.
then I think what Ellington did on this whole thing was they had a 75% board of selectmen have to vote 75%
They don't even
to
talk
remove
about
that individual.
There's 5 of them.
But there's 5, right? And so that was the other.
We're talking about 2/3, yeah.
Yeah.
So, this is done very well. I think the crew put a lot of thought. I think we would be covered by the last section, which says removal, because it would supersede a contract.
Right.
2 out of 3 could vote him out, or her out.
Right.
At any time, regardless, because a CBA would supersede the charter, a collective bargaining agreement, but an employment contract would not.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So you want to do them evaluate them every year then?
Well, like any.
Whatever you feel is deemed necessary. I mean, if something if that's what the, represents for the other part of the town, the employees of the town, I think it should be consistent.
Yeah, like any employee.
In my opinion, they should be consistent
So
with
if
that.
everybody evaluated it every year?
Annual review.
Okay, well, that's fine then.
Yeah.
Good, great. Okay.
You know, just as long as it doesn't become too much.
I think
Really?
I'll be changing this. I think the one thing that people are going to want clarification on, or I got the impression that people think of, and this is why Dave Marty was saying hired versus appointed, but it is appointed. People think that you're just going to appoint somebody.
Yeah, good old boy type.
Okay, this is somebody I know, you're going to be appointed. And really, for the town clerk, the distinction is you're hired. You go through a competitive hiring process. You go through a panel. The panel makes a recommendation, and then the recommendation is taken up by the selectmen and then voted on, and that's how you appoint at that time the town clerk.
Right.
Same thing with the appointment here. It's the selectmen as a whole, as a body, that appoints the administrator. It's not Tim deciding you want somebody to be the administrator and you appoint them and everybody else has to go along with that. No, it's not. So I think a lot of people do not have that clear in their minds as to how that's going to work. And so when you have your public hearing, I'm sure you're going to get a lot of questions on that.
Yeah.
And so that's the distinctions you're going to have to make and explain.
So I'm wondering if we could resolve this by putting a line in that the town administrator's performance and compensation will be reviewed annually. And if we put that sentence in, that would then prevent a board from fixing the compensation for 5 years.
Right.
Right? Because if say we set the compensation for 5 years, the next board could either fire them or keep them. But if they kept them, that would be the compensation. But if we made it reviewable annually, that would hold the person accountable every single year. Right?
Yes, but I'm just thinking, I mean, and you've dealt with unions, as have I, just cause and removing someone, I mean, that's a big deal. So, I mean, if the person's not performing, certainly, but
Well, one of the things that happens when you're an appointed official, I don't really think there needs to be just cause. Legally, the town attorney has opined in the past on that, where someone who's appointed says, can they really not appoint me again? And the answer is yes, they can really not appoint you again. It's a panel, they discuss it, they decide, and they recommend. And they don't need just cause.
It's sort of an at-will employee, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a risk you take on being an appointed official or an employee. So Karen, the
have protections in there.
I as the when I was the CFO, I mean, every time your appointment came up, you were worried, did I do something that, but people are pretty forthright in that process.
I would think, this is more of a question. Would you have an employment agreement with a town administrator that would say, your compensation is X, these are your expectations, there's our annual review process, and then, and it could be that it's an agreement for a period of time, or not, but they have an employment, and that's their protection. I believe, just based on previous experience in other towns, is administrators or town managers know they're at will. There's an agreement, but they also know that the political winds could shift, and that they could be out of a job. But that employment agreement might say that there's a negotiation for separation, something like that. That's their protection.
Protective language in that somewhere.
Something, but
Feel to
probably
the-
not a great deal. But they, with this role, they understand that it is a that they serve
That's
at
all
will.
labor lawyer language that's not going to make its way into a charter, so.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Right.
Which.
Like, what does the
I guess
superintendent of
it's
schools
almost
have?
what Bill is kind of saying is
Yeah.
something's going to take precedence over something. So
Yeah.
the selectmen or the charter or whatever has to be the ultimate. Doesn't matter what the agreement says. The agreement will be subject to the approval of the selectmen.
Yes.
Or something to that effect, yeah. Any such agreement would be that.
I'm just wondering if we added that line, though, that the performance and compensation will be reviewed annually.
There's nothing
That
wrong
would
with that.
then
Yeah.
settle it. So notwithstanding, I'm just afraid of somebody like Buddy, they're trying to give him a 10-year contract with, bad terms. And then the next board, but then the next board would have the choice, either fire him or keep him, and that's a...
Annual performance reviews are just such a good thing to do anyway. It's just,
Yeah.
we keep track and, just.
All right, good discussion.
Yeah,
All right,
that's a-
well,
that's
you
a-
want to go
that's a
down
good
to the
suggestion.
annual review then?
I think that makes sense.
Well, I think the performance and compensation will be reviewed annually, every year. And that's a strong incentive to perform, too.
Yeah. I like that. It's really good.
Yeah.
That's it for my questions, since I worked with this group. Pretty much agree with what they proposed, but
No, I thought,
Go ahead.
I liked everything you guys did.
Bill might have a couple of questions.
Just like the first selectman said in opening, I would echo it. I mean, this group, I was blown away when I saw this. I mean, I think the amount of thought, the amount of, consensus that you came up with. I mean, I know, just thinking how past processes have gone, I mean, I feel like this group, the way how they conducted, how professional this was, I just think there's going to be a lot of support for this because of, it's very narrow, but at the same time,
Well, it's easily understood. That's the key thing here. Is that you're
So I
not
think,
proposing
when
16 different things.
we're going through the process, and quickly, we were very receptive to the feedback from the Board of Selectmen. We received feedback from various, say, department heads, other people that are involved in government. They gave us suggestions, but again, we wanted to continue to be focused on the major and not to cloud it up with, say, if the one question doesn't pass, what's the relevance of another question? So the 5 questions that are there, they're the important ones to pass today. And then if and when they all pass, then a new Charter Revision Commission could then look into the questions that, Tim, you said at the beginning, what didn't make and for the reasons why. And I think that's the major reason why is the 3 items you brought forward, the 2 other items that were brought forward, they're really they address the major issues in Summers today.
Right.
And then if they're successful, the other questions can come at a later time.
Makes sense.
No, I think you bring up a very important point, and I think it speaks to the thoughtfulness of the committee. I mean, if every question stands on their own, and I know with the last process, there was a lot of questions, like if question 5 passed but question 4 didn't pass,
Right. Yeah.
How do you have this without this? And it would have been messy. And I think that some of that's what happened, and then they ended up having to just disqualify essentially all the results.
And I think that's initially when we discussed this all collectively as a committee. We knew that the last time was kind of convoluted the way things were brought out to the public and how things were written. So we decided to make sure that it was going to be pretty clear and concise this time, so there was no,
Plain.
Yeah, exactly.
I just want to clarify, though, the last Charter Revision Commission, because I was on it, was told that they weren't able to write the questions or the explanatory text.
Yeah.
So that's why it got confusing.
Right.
And you allowing us to
Who wrote
do
them?
that.
Who wrote the language?
Well, to this day, I don't
I
think
don't know
anyone
either.
will admit
I was
that they
here.
wrote them.
So I just want to say
No one knows, which is,
Well, there you go.
I just want to say that, everybody's
I was saying that, to a person, this group was open to any kind of criticism of what they wrote. There was no pride of ownership. And sometimes I think tough things were said, but we actually spent one afternoon writing one of these questions out at least 12 times. I had 12 different versions, and I came up with that's the one. I bring it to the meeting, they tore it apart. So it was not the one.
From just example, with the whole issue with the town clerk's position being an appointed position the last time, that was on there too. And the registrar's office, we tried to, get the question to be worded in a different way. And the person who wrote it would not change it. And
so thank you, Mike.
and then what happened is then people were confused and
Of
failed.
course, yeah. We
So
were
I think it's
mindful.
very important that you write the questions so people understand them. I think that's what you guys did.
That's
You
us.
wanted
We were mindful of that, Bob, and we
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that didn't happen.
Right.
But what I think you as
ambiguity
a group
was
need to do is read those questions. I mean, I had my wife read them at one point, and she thought that they seemed pretty clear to her. But, just to make sure that people, because we're so close to some of these things that we really can't be totally objective, read those questions. If they sound clear to you, you think they will be good on a ballot, and then you think people will understand what they mean, then leave them as is. If you think they need to be changed, then let us know. And
that's why I
we will
thought the
tweak them.
questions
Yeah.
were clear. And I
And
thought,
I would say run it by Carl, our attorney, one more time as an entire package now, just to make sure it will fly.
well, to me, it didn't look confusing. It looks pretty straightforward to me.
I'd also like to thank the commission for letting the Board of Selectmen know that all we need to do is pass an ordinance to increase the time for the registrar of voters from 2 to 4 years. Good stuff.
And I just want to add to that, there's some more ordinance changes that need to be done too.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, and I think that's our next line of work. I agree. I think that's,
they're important.
And they're very,
Well, you get it started, and that's good.
no, we committed. I mean, from day one, we knew with this process, it had to be completely transparent. And I think, the number of public hearings the commission's held, the number of public hearings we're going to continue to hold. I mean, if anyone's going to claim they don't know what's going on, you're not paying attention, because we're trying everything possible to let people know what's happening.
Transparency is the key, without a doubt.
Oh, I think this is very clear.
And then, my final thing, I think, as far as the town clerk and the first selectman go, I think we've all kind of seen with 8,500 people or 9,000 people, it's very hard to find qualified people who are willing to do the job for the salary we pay, who have all the qualifications, and that are willing to run for office every 2 or 4 years. I think this is going to kind of bring us into the future and, professionalize further the town, and set it up for the next generation. So, because both these positions now will not be limited to town residents, we can hire any qualified person to be the administrative officer or the clerk. So,
just to say that was a concern by people though.
Yeah, and I'm sure it'll be raised, too.
Right.
if they don't live in town.
Yeah.
Right.
Or that there would be a preference for somebody applying from the town, is
Yeah.
basically what they said.
Yeah.
Because then they have more commitment to the town.
Yeah. Double-edged sword.
Yep.
Yeah, it's tough. Especially we don't have a lot of affordable housing in town.
Right.
So, someone like for the town clerk's position, where are you going to live? You're going to buy a $500,000-$600,000 house?
Yeah, it's a problem. It's
So-
definitely a problem.
Yeah, in fact, the current fire chief's having a hard time.
Yeah, you know someone that can help.
What's her name?
My wife.
Maybe it's $350,000 house, maybe? Yeah.
The current fire chief's having a hard time finding a place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a house that came on the market last week up on Billings Road that sold, I think, in a day or two. He missed out. It was just what he needed, but he got there a little too late.
Well, we know that we need more affordable housing in this town, obviously, and apartments even. There's no place to live. You know, I mean, I talked to the veterans, and they say they can't find any place for veterans to live in this town. They just can't find it. And so they get these people, and they have to find a place in Enfield or Vernon or somewhere else for them to live. We got to. I mean, I've been after this for years, and we still can't get people in this town to get off the dime and be realistic.
So to summarize, I guess, the changes, and I have one more minor technical change. I guess we have two changes. The first selectman's comment to the explanatory text, right? For question number 2, just clarifying who the chief administrator will report to. And then the second would be to add that the performance and compensation will be reviewed annually by the Board of Selectmen.
Got that.
And then I think the third that I have would be, and it's a question or discussion, for the charter itself, on page 3, it says the town administrator may, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, enter into contracts or agreement. A lot of times how I've seen these written is it's the town administrator or first selectman, just so it's not one single person.
Okay.
Enter into contracts. I mean, the board needs to approve it regardless. But I know we have it, I think, like under some of the treasury things, right, where either the first selectman or the treasurer can sign.
Yeah.
Like I know we do that with like bond authorizations and things where it's not just one person.
That's right.
I think there are some state statutes that say the treasurer signs them. The one thing with an administrator job, it doesn't really have a state statute type of descriptions like a treasurer does, like a assessor does, like a tax collector does. I mean, those jobs also have, but there's no such thing in the state statutes of a town administrator. That's something that exists at the delegation of a board of selectmen.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
you could choose your whatever word
I
you
think
want.
you're right, Bill.
Whatever you're comfortable with.
It's done with the approval of the Board of Selectmen. So, as Mike said, you can designate which agreements.
Yeah,
It
I
doesn't
think
have to be
that's,
all, you know.
Yeah, I just don't want to bind us. The only issue I have in the charter is, say the town administrator wait for 2 weeks or something. Something needs to be signed. And you have no one to sign a
You
document,
need to designate.
so.
yeah, so you're throwing or the first selectman
Yeah.
Yeah, town administrator or first selectman.
with the approval of the board of selectmen. So you got
We've had this come up a couple of times. That's the only reason I raise it.
Well, it's either you or him.
Yeah, or incapacitation, if the town administrator is,
you're the two guys that go on vacation.
maybe, or if, you have the town administrator say on paid administrative leave or something with an investigation. I mean, there's a bunch of scenarios where.
The only thing that I think the town administrator wouldn't be able to sign is the chief that permits the pistol permits.
Yep.
There has to be the
Chief of police.
chief of police, which
Yes.
is named the first selectman. So,
Okay.
just FYI.
Yeah. So that's good. That's good recommendation.
Yeah, we'll just clarify that.
So really, those were really my only 3. Well,
great.
one was the first selectman's and 2
Yeah.
were my. I think you did a great job.
Thank you.
So next steps after this, we have a public hearing. The board is that
24th of July,
The 24th,
6 o'clock.
Yeah. So I have to get that legal notice out, and I'll take care of that.
and then we have a timeline as far as adoption, a legal timeline developed.
I think we have to get it, I just checked on this last week, I think we have to get it to the Secretary of State at least 15 days prior to the election.
Prior to
Probably to start early voting, which is like October 14th or something.
I thought it was too, but that's,
Because you already.
I thought it was 90, yeah. I think it's 90 days to the Secretary of State.
Oh, wow.
That's
So
why
we're-
we have the tight timeline. Within 15 days of the election, the clerk must notify the Secretary of State. There was something earlier than that.
Because now with early voting, I think we're starting early voting. Like,
We'll get it to the Secretary of State before the end of the month.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you get it right away. I think you gotta move it.
We should probably get a timeline from Carl, from the attorney, just to make
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. Yeah, how does that work with the early voting? I suppose it's on the ballot, so it has to be ready for
So we should
that.
probably just request a written timeline from Carl Landolina for the adoption.
Absolutely.
Well, I just don't want somebody to claim a technicality or
no,
a
I
problem.
get that.
Like if we have a written timeline from him,
Yeah.
Well, if you do it, though, in July, 3 months would put you into September.
And these have to be published, I believe, have to be published in their entirety in the newspaper prior to an election.
Yeah,
I think we might not have done that in the past.
okay.
and then that way, any early voting, you wouldn't run into it. You know, if it's all said and done by September. You know what I'm saying?
30 days of the council's approval.
Yeah. Yeah, we should commit Carl to a timeline and requirements, like everything.
Provide one.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a statutory process for charter revisions and all that he gave us. We did step 1, step 2. Step 3 was hold at least 2 public hearings. Council must hold 1 public hearing within 45 days of receiving the commission's report, so that's there. Council may recommend changes within 15 days of the final public hearing, so July 24th, 15 days after that. Commission has 30 days in which to accept or reject recommendations. Within 30 days of the council's approval, certification of electric petition, the charter amendments or revisions must be published.
Once.
So does it look like there's enough time to do it before the upcoming election? Okay, I just want to make sure that it looks okay to me, but I just want to make sure.
Right.
that- I don't see I'm not reading what you're reading, so that's good. I'm just,
Do you want me to send this to the three of you?
Yeah, that would be helpful,
yeah, that would be
I
good.
do.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll email it to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Or
thank you very
tonight.
much.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
it sounds like it would be within the timeline to be on the ballot, and
Yep.
everybody would have the
Definitely.
opportunity.
Within the parameters.
Right, yeah.
So this is the result after election day.
Okay,
That's great, thank you.
Very good. Outstanding job.
I think we're done.
Nice work.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks for agreeing to serve. I mean, it's a lot of work in a quick time
Guys, really
frame.
smooth here.
Yeah, you guys were definitely smooth.
We get a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We're adjourned.
Thank you.